You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
And welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. Always a blessing to be with you all. Well, we're going to contact the stars today and talk about the evolution of humanity and what's happening around the world with all of that, with the wonderful Prageet Harris. Welcome to the show, Prageet.
Thank you, Karen. It's wonderful to be with you. Thank you so much.
I had a chat with Prageet the other day about what he's doing, and yes, I see you there. Hi, Shirley. How are you? She's sending love from Canada. I was tuning into Canada this morning on Instagram, looking at what's happening in natural health. That was really interesting. That's a conversation for another time. And I was blown away at the expansion in consciousness around the world that Prageet is facilitating and seeing. So we'll talk about that. Prageet and Julieanne can't make it today, are a team, and together they present the Stargate experience, which we'll go into. But let me tell you a little bit about what's happening. Prageet Harris is an English internationally known channel who has assisted people with spiritual growth for more than 35 years. With the help of his guide, Alcazar, Prageet designed and built the original Stargate to assist groups and individuals in the process of understanding and knowing self and the process of spiritual awakening and the expansion of consciousness. Julieanne Conrad joined the Stargate experience in 2012 after discovering a profound connection to the Stargate and to the guide Alcazar, whom she also channels. With the guidance of Alcazar, Julieanne has discovered a new form of energetic self-healing known as the essence of life, which she speaks about and teaches. The mission of the Stargate experience is to support people around the world in their awakening, and in doing so, uplifting humanity and Gaia. The Stargate experience is a doorway to other dimensions. It's an interdimensional doorway, a geometric structure that emits a powerful high vibrational energy field, an energy that can move participants into a deep meditative state within moments. The Stargate is a unique geometric structure, acts as an anchor of higher dimensions and consciousness, energetic which responds to individuals and groups in creating multi-dimensional experiences for those who meditate within it. In its high energy field, participants are empowered to actually feel and connect with numerous benevolent guides and beings who are invited to join us. I think that it says here that people have an experience of touching the angelic realm, ascended masters, star families such as the Palladians, Arcturians, and the Galactic Command, and many others. And you can read more about the Stargate experience at the StargateExperienceAcademy.com. Is that right? The StargateExperienceAcademy.com. So I'd love to know how all this started for you. It was a long time ago. I actually posted this on, the upcoming show on Facebook, and who was it? Somebody on Facebook. God, I've gone blank on your name. Said that they met you 40 years ago in an experience that you were doing at a conference, and how great it was 40 years ago. So you've been doing it for a long time.
It has been a long time, yes. And it wasn't something that I actually intended to do at all. It was a big shock for me. And the way it happened was I was living on Maui, and I'd gone there with a group of people, and we were about to buy a hotel and turn it into like a New Age center with massages and channelings and so on. I wasn't channeling at that time, but I just was very interested in supporting the awakening. And we would have weekly meetings about the business process. And one day I was totally exhausted, and my friend said, well, why don't you lie down and we'll give you a massage. So I was actually lying down on my living room floor with people massaging me. And I went into a very deep space. It was really timeless. And at some point, somebody started to talk, and it was really annoying because it was kind of disturbing my massage. And I just stayed with it, and it got louder and stronger. And in the end, I just kind of opened my eyes, frustrated. And my friend said, "Wow, you were channeling." I said, "What?" It was me that was doing the talking, and I was totally unaware of it. I said, no. And they said, "Yes, you were. Do it again." And I was still in that very relaxed space. So I closed my eyes and it started again. And I was totally shocked. And I kind of cut it off after a while because I didn't really know what was going on. But later on, I was in my own room and I was sat on my bed and I said, "If you are real, who are you?" And I heard loud and clear, "Alcazar." And that was such a weird name that it wasn't something that I thought my mind would make up. In fact, I got up and looked out the window to see if it was friends of mine kind of playing a joke on me. But no, it wasn't. And with their encouragement or persuasion, really, they just kept on asking me to do it again. And Alcazar started to come through and share some very interesting information. But because I was so skeptical, he started to give demonstrations. He would tell people that were there things that had happened to them earlier on in their life before I knew them. And so people would say, "Well, how did you know that?" And of course I didn't. And not only did he do that, sometimes he would say to people, "In 2 or 3 days, this is going to happen. When it happens, call Prageet." So I started to get these calls from my friends saying, "Wow, it happened. What Alcazar said, it's just happened." And so he was doing that really to demonstrate to me particularly and to my small group of friends that there was a reality here. It's beyond just my mind or my ego. And so I had to start trusting it, dropped the hotel project, and went on a totally different direction. The guides told me to drop it, which created a lot of upset with some of my friends, and the other part of my friends were very supportive. And so that led to a lifetime, pretty much, of experiencing the beyond.
So when you say you dropped the hotel project, like you didn't drop all your work straight away to explore channeling, did you? I mean, it must have been a progressive process. I'm just going to, I know that's a question. I just have to remind people that we're actually on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM syndicated radio across the globe. But yeah, so back to that question with Prageet Harris. You didn't drop everything, because I speak to a lot of people who start to channel and everything and they don't know what to do with it. But you can't sort of jump into it straight away and make a business from it, can you?
Well, let me see. It took me about 24 hours to drop the hotel.
Wow.
And I mean, we got to the state where we had somebody ready to put up, I think it was $17 million to actually purchase it and support its growth. And so it was a big step, but it became clear to me, this is what I wanted to do. Because the energy when Alcazar came in was so loving and so supportive that even though my mind was objecting a lot initially, because I tend to have a very skeptical mind about all these things, but it just felt, this is what I've meant to do. And I think, you know, looking back on it and from what I've understood since then is that, oh, this is what I came for. And to connect with Julieanne, my partner, it's clear that we're meant to work together also. So we've been developing this process over these years. And as humanity slowly becomes more conscious, what's coming through is becoming more and more powerful.
Is it? With every day, it becomes more and more powerful.
I wouldn't say with every day, but certainly over the last 18 months, there's been an incredible acceleration, literally from workshop to workshop.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. I was reading on your website about who Alcazar is, because I think that when you give guidance a name like that, people seem to think that it's like you're talking to some person, like when we say God, and then religions have given God this identity of some white dude sitting on a throne.
No.
Which is hilarious. So who is Alcazar?
Well, actually, Alcazar is a spokesperson, so to speak. This is the way he's described himself, for a group of universal masters. And then the question is, well, what's a universal master? And he hasn't answered that, but I think he just leaves that open for our own personal interpretation. Basically, my feeling is that his scope of work, for want of a better word, or overseeing, is not just the earth, it's not just the universe. Because as more and more people are beginning to grasp, we're living in a multiverse, even though our minds can't even imagine even the size of this universe, let alone multiverses. But this group is a very loving, I was going to say powerful, but it's the power of love. It's the power of support, the power of encouragement and respect for each individual. And when we're working with Alcazar or the Stargate, it's always an individual process. Even if we have groups of thousands of people, it's always very specific for each individual within the energetic field that's created. How they do that, I have no idea, but it's very tangible.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I think that you said, oh, hang on, where am I? I'm all over the shop now. I think that when it says on your website that he's part, or, I mean, we say he, that the energy that channels through you that identifies itself as Alcazar is part of a collective consciousness, a stream of consciousness. So this is what my guides tell me too. That's why I very irreverently call them the mob. I don't give them a name. They gave me a name when I asked them for years. Who are you? Who are you? They didn't tell me. They didn't give me a name. And I had a business called Bliss, which was a furniture and homewares business. And then I closed that and started massaging people and started calling my business Blissful Beings. And one day they said, who do you think blissful beings are? So they don't talk about names or labels, or elusive is the word. And I think that Alcazar is the same. It's a collective consciousness. It's like a tapping into the unified field of infinite possibility, infinite intelligence that oversees worlds and universes. It's like bigger than our little human minds can really imagine, wouldn't you say?
Well, we've been, for so many lifetimes, we've been here on the earth, body after body after body, and we've been so focused on this 3D reality. And we've actually strayed quite a long way from the actual original potential of humanity. And now we're moving back in that direction. And so we've been focused on physicality, third dimension, unaware of the greater realities that we're living within. And so for us, it's very difficult, in a sense, to imagine what it's like to be in oneness and to have this huge consciousness that is all one and yet individualized at the same time.
Right.
And so when Alcazar came in such a long time ago, he came in as Alcazar rather than a group consciousness, because it was much easier for people to begin to accept that.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that he said is that spirit, in whatever form, has always talked to humanity through parables, stories, as Jesus did a long time ago. And the reason for that is that our minds can't yet grasp this vast reality and the fact that there's nothing to do, which is one of the things that Alcazar has been saying for at least 30 years. And that's very often misunderstood, because when he says there's nothing to do, he's talking about there's no doing from the mind. This existence starts to flow through you, and movement happens without a mental decision. And again, that's very difficult for us to think about. Well, how can that be? Because that's what we do. We think about it. And more we're going to be moving into a place where we are in the flow with existence, with everyone else. In a sense, it's already the case, but we are all so chaotic and all creating our own little bubble that's so often antagonistic towards other people or towards the environment and so on. And slowly, as we raise our vibration, there starts to be more and more harmony in our own life, and then slowly in the rest of humanity.
Oh, that was so good. That was so good. I want you to repeat it. Let me just see if I can put it into my words, because you said something like there starts to be no thinking, and what we do as humans is we're always thinking, but we move into a flow. So I feel like what you're saying, the thinking's already happened. When you speak to teachers, and I'm one of them, but I don't teach this way, but many teachers who talk about law of attraction and deliberate creation and how to get what you want, many of them, not me, say, think about it, focus on it, do vision boards, think about it more, think about what you want. You're actually saying the opposite. So the thought's already happened. And as Esther would say, it's in that vibrational escrow. It's out there waiting to manifest. And our job in this is to be in the flow, in the energetic flow, in the allowing for the thought, which is already out there. You don't have to think about it again and again and again. To just be in the flow, to allow that to manifest or to be created or to occur. Is that what you're saying? Have I got that right?
Yes and no, but
yes and no.
Right now, I'm feeling very strongly Alcazar's presence. So I don't know if you'd like him to come in and answer that question or explain his perspective.
Well, I would. Yes, I would. I wanted to chat about Julieanne, but maybe we can do that because I didn't want to, even though that she's not on the live with us today, I didn't want to leave her out of this because she's an integral part. But yeah, bring in Alcazar and see what he has to say. They have to say.
Beloved ones, we are with you. We invite you to simply relax as we share few words and energies with you. For as we talk, there are energies behind the words. So when you ask this question, we would like to say a few words about what you call the act of creation. You are vibrational beings. Your very thoughts, your very feelings are vibrations. Your very acts are vibrations. And so you are vibrating every single moment. The vibrations are not just of your conscious thoughts. For because of your upbringing, you have many subconscious patterns, which are also part of your vibration. Many people, we would still suggest most people, have within their subconscious vibration patterns that have feelings like, I'm unworthy, I don't deserve, I can't have what I want. And they are there in your field. And so if you are wanting to create something in your life, but you have a program within that says you don't deserve it, that literally cancels out the feeling and the thoughts that you are trying to put out to the universe, to existence, to the quantum field, however you visualize or imagine that creative force. So you are with your mind and maybe with your heart and your feelings asking for something, but immediately you are also putting out, I don't deserve it, I'm not good enough. And so that creation doesn't happen, or it happens in a very small way when it could be a grand creation. So existence or spirit, or we would call it the quantum field, is constantly, moment by moment, reflecting back to you what you are vibrating. So you can understand perhaps when you are angry, frustrated, this is what you are vibrating. And you know from your experience, no doubt, that when you are angry, things keep on going wrong, making you more angry. So existence is immediately reflecting back to you. That's energetic that you are radiating. So our function, or one of our focuses, is to assist you freeing yourself of those unconscious programs. And we do this in a meditative situation using the Stargate energies, where we can literally raise your vibration and give you a taste of what it is like to be in higher consciousness. And from that point, you can start to see or sense these unconscious patterns and start to release them. We can show you how to let them go, remove them from your field. And then your creativity naturally happens, not because you are thinking hard and feeling hard what you want to create, but because it comes naturally from your beingness and your, what we call your superconscious self or your higher self. So we are saying, beloved one, become free of the old programming, and that which you are desiring happens naturally. Okay, we thank you for taking these moments to hear our explanation.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So is Alcazar still there? So I had a question about that, but I'll ask you, Prageet, because I know you and he are one, really. So when you think something like a Stargate experience, like a Stargate structure, let me show people what the Stargate looks like. And for people on radio, we'll explain what it looks like. So it's a sacred geometric structure that people sit in, and it says that it can take away the limiting programming and the negative thinking and the negative emotions. What is the responsibility in the person, for the person that, you know, uses some structure like this to take away their negative thoughts? Is it not our responsibility to choose what we prefer to think and feel and experience? Or do we, let some...
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it doesn't take it away. It creates this, actually, like Alcazar just said, it creates a situation where you can see some of the limitations, and then you have a decision to let it go. Right. And some of these programs are so superficial that they just drop off immediately, almost without any thought, because your superconscious, Alcazar calls your higher self the superconscious, and he has a subtle difference, but it doesn't really matter. So when you become aware of something, some of those things simply drop away. There are other more deeply ingrained and influential programs that you have within you, like I'm not good enough, I don't deserve love, or whatever that is, that needs a conscious choice. But the beautiful thing about the Stargate and the processes that we use is that it oils the machinery, is a way of saying it. It makes it easier for us to understand that without this program, life would be much easier, because we start to get a taste in these deep meditations. We get a taste of what it feels like to be
free.
vibrating at a higher level, a higher consciousness. And so
free.
then it's easy to say, well, I do deserve it. I believed in the past because my parents told me, but no, I believe I do deserve it. And when you get to that place, not just with the mind, but with your totality, huge changes happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that explanation. Yeah, I feel like there is a Stargate structure over the whole entire planet, actually. So
well, actually, there is.
Yeah. Okay. So there's an acceleration of frequency. There is a experience of seeing, because I know that when many people are in their negative thinking, Byron Katie calls it your insanity. When you're in your insanity, you can't see that you're in your insanity. You can't see what you're thinking. You're not aware. You're just in that moment of rage or anger or regret or hatred or depression, and you can't see it for what it is. So I feel like the Stargate gives you that experience of witnessing it from outside the programming, and then giving you the choice to keep it going or to let it go. Yeah. And so it sort of brings it up to your awareness, a conscious awareness of what you're doing to yourself. Because what many humans do is they feel upset and then they blame the politicians or the lover or the family member or the friend or the person in the traffic. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it brings it back. This guy online's talking a lot of scripture there. Hi, Bob. I never know how to say your name. Wow, very interesting. But he had a question that I think we've answered. How might one free themselves of past programming? I think we've just talked about that.
There are many ways, and this is just one of the ways. And the Stargate is for those, what Alcazar said is that Stargate attracts very intelligent people. And he's not talking about people with degrees. People that think for themselves or want to understand a greater reality instead of the narrative that we're told.
Yeah. So how did Julieanne sort of enter the picture? Because she's been with you for about a decade now, hasn't she? And you've been doing this for 35 years.
She joined us, yes, just 10 years. Well, it's interesting because she came to an evening gathering that I did in a friend's house that I actually was about to cancel because my friend called me up and said, well, most people aren't coming now for different reasons. And in the end, I said, well, okay, I'll come anyway. So Julieanne came, and the way she found it was very interesting. She just finished university at UC Davis, Santa Cruz. And she'd gone back home to live just outside Davis, and she went on the internet to try and find friends and basically what's happening in her area. And the Stargate popped up, and she found out that we were doing this evening, and she came there, and she said, I'll tell this story because it's interesting. She thought I was Indian. She'd never seen a photo of me. So with a name like that, she thought I was Indian. Anyway, before it started, we passed each other in the corridor as she was going to the restroom. And as soon as she saw my face, she got this, what she called déjà vu of the future. And she heard very clearly, Your life is about to change. You're going to travel the whole world, and you're going to have more fun than you could ever imagine. And this happened even before she'd had an experience. When she saw the Stargate for the first time, she felt this wave of energy coming at her. And that was basically her first experience. And I was about to go off and do a large conference. I'm not sure where it was anymore. It doesn't matter. I was going to go and do a large conference, and she called up and said, "Can I help?" And I said, "Well, it's a expensive flight. I've got helpers already. So save your money and come when I'm doing something a bit closer." And she said, "Well, I really want to come, and I'll come anyway." But the amazing thing was, like 2 days before it happened, both my helpers called and said they couldn't make it. So I called Julieanne, and she came, and actually her mother came as well. And the two of them helped me with sessions and organizing. And the Stargate was so popular. I had a hotel room there, and we were doing mini workshops with like 12 or 15 people squished in the workshop, in the hotel room around the Stargate. And the Stargate is like a 6.5-foot structure. And we created experiences there. And we had like one group after the next. And these two, Julieanne and her mom, were working flat out to keep that flow going. And since then, it's like we've been working together. I was over in Maui with so much work to do. And my friend said, "Why don't you call this woman, whoever it was, ask her to help?" And so I called up Julieanne. It was Christmas Eve, I believe. Called her up and said, "Hey, do you want to come to Maui and help?" I had so much to do, and I knew she was good on the computer. So she came over, and when she arrived there, the computer broke. And I had to get a new one, which came from the mainland. So we had several days just to get to know each other. And in doing so, during that time, Alcazar came to her and started channeling through her. And from then on, we've been working together and growing together. So it's been quite an experience. And she apologized for not being here. She really wanted to be part of this
experience. Yeah, well, we'll get her on another day. But I love the generational gap between you. I just think that's great, because in our generation, so many people say, "Oh, I don't do technology." And, I have to say, I think that is a idea of oldness. It's like keeping up, because technology, you've got to keep up. Like I regularly, study things to keep up. And because it moves so fast. Mm-hmm. And you can get sort of like, oh, it's all too much. But I hear that so often from our generation. But the younger generation are just, they're on it. They're just on it. And so it's great that you've got these two generations that are bringing this information. Also, you're attracting from all, parts of humanity, from different generations, from the older generation, the younger generation. What are your seminars? What are the majority of the people coming to your seminars? Are they all generations, or is there a?
We have all generations. We have more and more of the younger people coming. In fact, in Azores, we had somebody, I think she was 13 or 14. So occasionally we get younger people like that. We're having more and more of the 20s and 30s, but it's still more of our generation, 40, 50 and upwards. And I think partly that's to do with the fact that many people have reached that stage in their life where they actually have a little more time or energy or financial ability to actually start exploring more. And I think that's part of the nature of humanity, is that initially you're very much about working in the world. And then you start to realize there's got to be more than just this. But the beauty about the younger generations is it doesn't take them very long to realize, hey, there must be more than this. Yeah. And so they're really waking up more rapidly. And we do have to honor those generations that have gone before us, because with each generation, there's more understanding, more awakening. And I'm grateful for my parents and the struggle that they went through to enable me to have the wisdom, in a sense, and the love and the care to do what I'm doing. And it's through the way that they brought me up and through their level of unconsciousness, but love. And now you know, future generations can look at, yeah, I've got love and I've got unconsciousness, and it's a progression. We're growing together.
Yeah.
And we're ascending together. And these younger generations are coming in so much more conscious. In fact, I have a story about that, if I could share it.
I'd love you to share it. I just want to remind people that you're listening to Accentuate the Positive Awakening Consciousness with Karen Swain. My guest today is Prageet Harris from the Stargate Experience, and we are on 107.7 and 105 FM, 105.3 FM syndicated radio on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. Don't you love that there is a UFO Paranormal Radio Network?
Absolutely.
Love that. I just love that. Yeah, I would love to hear that story, but I'm just thinking about, you know, you said that the older generation, they've bought the house, they've paid the mortgage, they've had the career, they've got time to think about that. I was talking to a real estate agent recently, and real estate prices, both rental prices and mortgage prices. I went to see a flat the other day. A friend is looking to buy one that was hideous, dark, moldy, looked onto a brick wall. Every window looked onto a brick wall on a main road with lots of noise. $1.1 million they wanted for it, right? 2-bedroom flat on a main road, no parking, dark, dingy. And I'm like, how does anyone afford to buy anything in this city? So the younger generation, like, they have to focus on. I feel like it's like a ploy to keep us dumbed down. Like, you have to focus on making the money to be able to survive, and you can't think about anything else. But yet you're saying that, and I'm seeing this too, the younger generation are so conscious or awake or awakening that they're not letting that distract them as much as like when our generation were struggling to pay bills and things like that, right?
Yeah, part of our programming was to go to school, get an education, get a job, get married, buy a house, have kids, and rinse and repeat. That was the programming that we had. And fortunately, that's not so much of a programming that's coming into the new generations.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what was happening that I really wanted to share with you happened a few years ago. We were doing a workshop actually in Bulgaria, and we had a large group of people. And one of the things that we do with the Stargate is sometimes we create a very strong energy field and direct it at something. So we had several days together, and we built up a very strong energy field without going into the details of it. Basically, we connect with the star families and the ascended masters. They bring energy into us in order for us to amplify our intention. So we built up this very strong energy field inside the Stargate structure, and then at one point released it with the intention that this energy would go out to support all the new children who are being born, who are coming in and finding such an incredible challenge to be in this density. And so we sent that out, and it just felt very beautiful. And we were all kind of relaxing and saying, oh, wow, that was great. And then suddenly into the space came this huge wave of energy. And it was like, wow, what was that? And everybody felt it. And we weren't doing anything. Suddenly this wave of loving energy came in. And we were saying, what was that? And Alcazar came in and he said, when you sent that energy out, it went out around the world as you'd intended. And over 100 of these new children felt that energy, connected together, and then sent their appreciation back.
Wow.
And that was mind-blowing, not just to feel it, but the fact that they'd connected together around the world. And that was, whoa. And so that really gave me a whole new perspective about what is coming. Because
Yeah.
that was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. So they are in their pre-teens now. They're the ones that are going to be coming in and starting to take charge of what's occurring on the earth. And it's no accident. You know, this is part of an agreement that we've all had.
Yeah.
We chose
Big.
to be here at this time of awakening and to support
Yeah.
it in different ways.
Big changes are happening. You know, about 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, I don't know, 20, 25, 30. Anyway, Stephen Simon with Neil Donald Walsh made a little movie called Indigo about the children who are communicating telepathically on the psychic web. Do you know about and they all they're in chat rooms, and like they're not using a computer, they're just using their psychic abilities and talking to each other. And fabulous movie. A friend of mine was living with me at the time, and she tuned into the a channel, and a healer and psychic tuned into the web. And I remember she was in the bathroom doing her business. She's like, "I'm talking to Pete. Oh yeah, I've got Lizzie online. Oh yeah," she's screaming out from the bathroom. She was connecting with all these kids on the psychic web, but they would be adults now, those children. I mean, that was a conversation that was going on 20 odd years ago, and yet it gets stronger and stronger with the new generations that come in. That seems to be these psychic abilities, and that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So I have to tell people too that the Stargate, you're going in a couple of weeks. You're going back to Slovenia, aren't you, to do some seminars and workshops, and it's coming down under. The Stargate is coming down under, which we'll talk about. You're going to Queensland, coming down to the Blue Mountains, skipping Sydney. The Blue Mountains is not too far from Sydney, where I am. It's about an hour and a half west of Sydney, in what we call the Blue Mountains. They're not like mountains in Switzerland, but they are mountains nonetheless. And then you're going out to Uluru. Do you want to, which is in the center of Australia, which is the rock, once called Ayers Rock, now called Uluru. You know, the story of Uluru is the indigenous, the First Nation people that live out there, that tend to the land out there, the generations. The name Uluru is the name, because I thought it was a name given to the rock by the indigenous. Do you know about this? Do you know about the name? I found this out in 2022. But it's actually the name of the family that are the custodians or the caretakers of the rock. And when that last person dies in that family, it is inherited by another family. There's some hierarchical system. And then the rock will be given another name. I found that fascinating. Did you know that about the rock?
I didn't. No, that's new to me.
Yeah, because it was called Ayers Rock by us Westerners, and then the indigenous said that's not the name of it. So now it's referred to all over the world as Uluru. You were guided to come out here. What was Alcazar telling you about coming to Australia?
Well, it's interesting. For more than 20 years, I've wanted to come to Australia with the Stargate. And every time it's been, not yet, not yet, not yet.
Oh,
and
interesting.
And last year, we took a group of about 100 people to Egypt with Vivienne Chevet. And we had a very special experience there. As you know, I think Vivian's been on your show relatively recently. Yeah. She's an embodied Arcturan, which sounds very weird, and I won't go into it, but there's a presence and an energy that comes through her because she's literally connected. Her biology is connected to the Arcturans and beyond. She has a memory which goes back infinite number of years. She's been around, her consciousness has been around for millions of our Earth years. So she embodied in order to support this process. We met with her, we've worked with her, and the guidance was that we should go together to Egypt. So we went there and we did activations all along that sacred valley. But the primary one happened between the pores of the Sphinx. And we were asked to create a strong energy field with the Stargate, which we did. And then Vivienne brought through from the various galactic delegations energies which created a reactivation of the information that's held in the libraries beneath the Sphinx and all along those different sacred sites. And it was, I even find the words to describe how wonderful an experience it was. It was so touching. We were in tears afterwards. Mm-hmm. And from that, there's an energetic line that connects the Sphinx, the Master Pyramid there, with Uluru. And we were shown then the next step has to be Uluru. And as many people know, the Pleiadians are still there energetically with Uluru. And there's sacred doorways there, 2 doorways which are right now very, very limited for different reasons, shut down. And it's been waiting for the time for humanity to raise its consciousness sufficiently to allow the reopening of those doorways, or that Stargate that is Uluru, and the very many dimensional aspects. It's not just a rock. It's an incredible, powerful point on the Earth's grid, power grid. When that activates, it's going to release an energetic which will accelerate the human awakening process. And that sounds very grand, and yet that's the reality that I feel, I'm trusting, and that we've been told. And so we're going there with 2 very small groups of people, just 40 people in the groups, with the intention of literally calling forth those people that know they need to be there, to come and join these 2 small groups to do this activation. And we've been asked from the Pleiadians and the Arcturans and the many different delegations from around the universe to gather to create this energy field as representatives of humanity, to receive the energetic support, to allow the energies to come through us that enable the reopening, the reactivation of Uluru and the portals that are there, the Stargate that is functioning at a very, very low level right now. And as you know, and so many people have said, when you go to Uluru, you can feel it. Well, after this, it's going to be so totally different.
It's interesting.
No,
because friends of mine
wait to experience it.
Because friends of mine are putting on the Cosmic Consciousness Conference in Chris's time, just after you're there. So I'll be interested to hear about the difference, because there'll be I don't know how many people, maybe 40 or 100 people. I'm not sure how many people they gather doing this sort of work. But that story that you've shared about activating portals and stargates and grids around Uluru is something that many people go to Uluru to do, and they share that same story. So when you were sharing that with me the other day, I was talking to my guides and I'm saying, so what's different about this one that all the rest? And they said, like, incrementally it happens. But then we started talking about supporting the gathering of conscious people coming together, because there's been what can I say? There's been sort of limitations on that. Like there are gatherings that are supported for rock bands and business meetings, but I find, and many people find, that when trying to gather a lot of people for a consciousness event, it's difficult and expensive, and a lot of people lose a lot of money doing that. You've had the opposite experience with your Stargate. It's been easy for you, and so I had this aha moment of this will support that. This opening will support the gathering of people coming together in conscious events. Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned to you, when I first started back 25 years ago or more, Alcazar, and I was doing groups with, a dozen or 20 people, was a big group. He was saying, you'll be doing this in football stadiums. Yes. And that just seemed like so ridiculous at the time. But as I told you, we did this gathering in Slovenia last year, and we had 1,050 people from all over the world, more than 50 different countries. And when I stood there on the stage looking out over this large gathering, it was for the first time I said, okay, Alcazar, I get it. We are going to do this in football stadiums. And I'm getting goosebumps as I say that now. It's just another confirmation. It's not going to happen next year, but it's going to be happening. And listen to this, and all you people that are hearing these words, when you hear about it at football stadium, come, be amazed.
Yeah, I have seen that as well, Prageet. I've seen that. And even I was telling you that I was living with a friend 20 odd years ago who was tapping into the grid and talking to all the kids on the psychic internet. She's seen it too. We've seen it. That was 20 years ago but yeah, so it's not like going to happen overnight, but it will happen. It will happen in our lifetime anyway.
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, the expansion of consciousness has been exponential, because I have some friends that did Joe Dispenza. Was it last year, the beginning of this year? Can't remember, but recently. And he had about 5,000 people in Queensland doing one of his weekend workshops, seminars. And I'm like, who were these people? And she said, they came from all over the world.
Right.
So he's gathering big numbers. And she said that maybe it was 3,000, maybe 5,000 applied, but he could only fit 3,000 in a venue or something like that. Yeah. So the expansion is happening. It's incredible to see the expansion and how this stuff is gathering. So that activation of the grid or the portal or what's ever happening in Uluru, that's like a grid structure, an energetic grid structure, which will support us coming together and gathering and creating, and it'll support that. That's what I see anyway.
And it will support Gaia, the consciousness of the earth, and the actual rebalancing of the planet in many different ways.
Yeah. Look, I once heard, I had a friend on the show, a person on the show who was talking about what Uluru was, and he said it was a beacon for Mother Gaia, and he didn't go into too much more about that. And I'm like, what's this beacon? And then soon after that, I heard an Indigenous elder speaking about what Uluru is to them. And he said that it was actually a part of the Pleiades, that the rock itself hurtled through space and slammed into Earth when Earth was forming, and it was just like a molten rock. It wasn't really an ecosystem on Earth, so way back at the creation. And a part of the Pleiades, it's like what we see is Uluru, which is this massive rock, and you'll see it, it's huge, is but a tip of what is actually underground. There's this massive rock underground that goes way into Mother Gaia, and that it activated life on planet Earth. And so it's some sort of beacon. When I think about a beacon, I think about a heartbeat. It emits a frequency that supports life and has done on Earth. So it's quite special.
That's really interesting that you should say that, because I was talking with Vivienne just this morning, and one of the things that she said is that when this starts to be reactivated, it will send a beam into the universe. So it's going to amplify, and that's going to help connect us in many different ways to the star families.
Yeah.
It's also saying we are ready. It's an indication that the awakening process has reached sufficient level for this activation to happen and for more support to come to help humanity in these incredible times. And even though it seems like the world is breaking down into chaos, which it is on the surface, the vibration and the consciousness of humanity is actually rising. And some people find it difficult to understand why this breakdown is necessary. But the thing is that unless those old structures break down, we can't rebuild them in a more conscious way. And whilst that is happening, those people that are still stuck in that old world way of living find life more and more difficult. And we understand that, and it's a challenge for them. But what's happening for many, many people already is that they are feeling that there's no point to life as we are living it. There must be something more.
Yeah.
And as soon as people get to that place saying there must be more than this, just working hard, stress, illness, suffering in the world that we're living, hearing about all the tragedies, there must be more. And as soon as people, individuals, start to say there must be more, then they are, without even realizing it, asking for more awareness to happen. And there are literally hundreds of thousands of people turning to meditation and other techniques to start awakening. Almost daily, there's more and more people searching. And that's what's raising the vibration. It's not these people on the edge of spiritual awakening. No, it's the masses beginning to say there must be more. What else can there be?
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing that's happening underneath the chaos that's happening in the world.
Yes, absolutely. I think the acceleration of the awakening of the masses started in not started, but accelerated exponentially in 2020 when we went through what we went through across the world. Other guides said, yeah, this is the awakening of the masses. And the questions are not only there must be more, but this doesn't make sense. This doesn't add up. Hang on, questions were asked that weren't asked before. Like the questions before was, how can I be more successful? How can I make more money? How can I get what I want? The lover, the success, whatever. Mm-hmm. But then different questions across the planet are what, awakened in the minds of humanity. Like, this doesn't make sense. Let me investigate this. Let me start asking questions. Surely there must be something more. Like all those questions, which I think for many people is the beginning of their spiritual awakening. Absolutely. Not for you. You just have a massage and start channeling.
Well, it happens, in different ways to different people. Yeah.
In talking about the events, what I'm seeing when people put on events is there's a 3D way of putting on events, and then there is going back to that message that you shared with us and Alcazar shared with us about creating, be in the flow. Don't push too hard. Stop thinking and just relax and be in the flow. When putting on an event and, money is involved and hiring of halls have to happen and people need to be paid, the 3D consciousness, the third dimensional, is like sell, discount, advertise. It's this real pressure to make it happen. And we've got a big event that happens. It's been happening for over 40 years here in Sydney, which is a consciousness event where a lot of stallholders share their products and then people, but it is, you walk into that environment and it is so 3D. It's all commerce and money and discounts and competition. The energy of it, even though it's a consciousness event, I find it like hideous to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
rather
don't
than
like,
walking into an event where you feel this freedom of frequency, where there is that allowing and flow state rather than that pressure to sell and make money and pay the bills. Because I'm involved with a big event that's happening next year in Sydney, and they're expecting, well, they're wanting at least 5,000 people to come along, and getting that message across to these people that you can actually be in flow and allow it to happen, because this is what you're doing with your events. You shared with us about Slovenia, but something that you shared with me the other day that you haven't shared today was about people donating so that other people could attend. Do you want to, that just warmed my heart. Do you want to share with people what happened?
Well, our whole premise with the Stargate is community, connecting with each other, recognizing that everyone around the world in all these different countries, basically, we're all the same. Our desires are all the same. And so Alcazar has been stressing the importance of community. And so we created what we call a Stargate Global Gathering. And we did our first one in Slovenia, actually, and then COVID came. And so it was several years before we could do the next one. And we decided to do it in Slovenia again. And basically, because of this intention to connect with people, is to understand that there's some people that are experiencing severe financial difficulties. It's temporary, perhaps, but that's their experience, and they wanted to be there too. And so we just invited the community to donate. They sent us money, and we took that money and we said, we will put in the same amount of money. So whatever you contribute, we will also contribute. And we created this fund, and we had 1,050 people there in total, but over 200 of them were supported to be there. Their hotel was paid, the workshop was paid, and for those that were coming a long distance, we gave them a large chunk of money towards their airfare, so that all those who really wanted to be there could be there in person. And the beauty of that is that you start to meet these people. I think more than 50 different countries represented there. And you start to connect with them and feel them and recognize the heart and the similar desires and the sharing of the meditations together. And it is such a heart-opening experience, because many people feel very alone in the world, even if they're in a very, in a city or in a large community. They feel alone because they're the only ones that are feeling this same way, holding this higher vibration or this desire for more in this spiritual context. And so the whole work of the Stargate is to reach out to make this available. So yes, we do draw in a lot of money, and that is simply turned around to go out to the community. We have websites now, I think, in about 7 different languages. We have translators in those languages. And so when we do workshops or we do a series of, one of the things we do is online series over a number of weeks, every day for a number of weeks, that's translated into these different languages, so that there's this wealth of information and meditations that are available in more and more countries. We have, I think, another 9 countries that we're in process of building up information on websites for those countries so that we can expand further. And we have a large team of people around the world that are part of the Stargate team. So we're supporting people in some of these other countries where financially life is difficult, but they are being supported by the work and by what their contribution in this whole Stargate experience project. So it's a delight. And
Oh,
my feeling is, yes, it is doing well, and it's doing well because it's coming from the heart. It's not coming because I want to be a multimillionaire. I'm absolutely not. But it's about what's really important is this opening of humanity and supporting people, because we all need finances in this reality that we're in right now. So it's supporting as many people as we can to expand, have the experience which enables them to be more creative. And many workshops, we get the feedback from people afterwards. Well, I didn't really do anything. I was just there for the workshop, but my world has changed. People say this all the time. Something's changed. I didn't do anything, but everything seems to be different. People are talking about their relationships getting better. There's one wonderful story about this woman that came with her husband who thought all this woo-woo stuff was BS. He didn't want anything to do with it. And this was in Sedona. And the husband was dropping the wife off to come and have a Stargate meditation experience. And he didn't want to be there, but she said, please just stay for this first session. So he's what my friend Lee Carroll calls a drag-along. He didn't want to be there, but he sat there anyway. But the amazing thing was that he had a very dangerous situation happening in his throat. His throat was closing up. The doctors couldn't operate, and he was going to have to a tube put down his throat in order to continue living. A terrible situation. I don't understand all the details about it. And so he was there in the meditation, waiting to leave. And his wife told us afterwards, there was a moment when she knew something had shifted in him. And the amazing thing was that whole throat issue disappeared in just about 45 minutes.
Wow.
And things like that happen in these workshops that we do. There was a blind lady in Germany who got her sight back in an hour. Incredible things happen. But it's not just physical changes, although there's been dozens and dozens of them. It's emotional changes. It's mental expansion, stress disappearing, awareness happening. People's life change effortlessly. And that's one of the things that Alcazar's gift is, that change can be effortless. It's time to stop trying. He said that we're all trying to become enlightened. And he said, you don't have to. You came here eons ago on your timeline. You came from the stars. You came from enlightened civilizations. So you don't have to try and work hard at becoming enlightened. Just relax and remember. And that's the whole focus of the Stargate work. There's nothing to do. Relax and remember.
And remember. Absolutely. This is why I showcase. I had a couple of weeks ago a meditation teacher on the show. Yeah, relax and remember. Stop the trying. Yeah, relax and remember. The experience of coming together when two or more are gathered in my name, the experience of coming together to create a frequency, you know, when we all come together in meditation, has been explored across the globe many times. And one of those experiences was in Brazil with the John of God. He would create the current, he called them current rooms, where people would just sit in meditation. They would pipe through some nice music so people could sit in meditation. And I went there about 24 years ago to experience it, to see what was happening over there, and heard that experience from many people that had diseases that the doctors said, nope, sorry, you're going to die. We can't fix this. There's nothing we can do. We can put you on a slew of pills so it will alleviate symptoms, but we can't heal. And sitting in meditation in a group of people in the current rooms they were completely healed, doing nothing. Yeah. Not even having a healing from the healer. But again, ego and 3D consciousness got in the way of that creation. Money and greed and power and hierarchy got in the way of that, and it all went belly up. It still exists, though. The current rooms are still there in Brazil. People can still go and experience them. But yeah, there should be current rooms all over the world, I think, where people come together and sit in meditation in that higher consciousness.
Well, this is something that science has measured, that when a group comes together, it literally changes the energy. And there's been many demonstrations in different cities where groups have come together and the crime rate has dropped,
right,
and everything starts to change. And so part of this whole Stargate work is about spreading that. And we have these small Stargates. I've got a little one here, which you can perhaps see. And there's thousands of these now around the world, and they all connect energetically. And the thing is that they are an anchor for a higher dimensional consciousness. And that might sound very weird. It certainly did for me for a long time to accept that this would hold a consciousness. But these Stargates create a grid work around the planet. And when we work with the Stargate, the energies that we create with these groups goes out around the planet. And I got a demonstration once that Alcazar showed me. We were radiating a particular energy. I don't even remember what it was. We were radiating this around the world. And normally I don't have inner vision. And after that radiating of that energy, I saw very clearly this young Indian woman, maybe 18, 20, something like that. And she was walking along, and then suddenly she stopped. And she went like this and went down to the ground because she'd felt that energetic that we radiated in the same way as those children had felt in the story I told you before. So for me, it was very difficult initially to accept that by having this group consciousness, we could literally radiate energy to humanity. And what Alcazar is saying is that these energies go out, and then anyone, anywhere, if for a brief moment they're open, a little bit more receptive, whilst we're sending those energies will be received by them. They'll be touched. And that can change their whole life trajectory. And so this is just one of the small ways that spirit is working to change humanity as a whole. It's not just individuals anymore. And when we do this work, in fact, usually when we do online things, there's at least 2,000 or 3,000 people all creating these energies together. And we come online just like this, and then we just say to people, okay, now let's just connect. And instantly, there's a beautiful field of consciousness, and people around the world can feel it. But not only that, people who are listening to the replay afterwards, because they're asleep at the time or working or whatever, they feel the energy and they contribute to the energy of that field. Because we work in the quantum, we don't work in the physical. Even though we connect in this way, we're connecting in the quantum field. And it's that understanding of that underlying field that connects everything and everyone. You could call it spirit or God or whatever word, but we're all part of that field. We're all part of this super conscious, energetic. And it's from that place when we connect that literally we move beyond our ego. We move into our human beingness that enables us to open and share in a way that normally we don't in our everyday life. And the more people that start having those experiences, the more rapidly we're going to evolve as humanity. And the beautiful thing is, more and more people are reaching that state.
Absolutely. Oh, beautiful. Kimberly asked here, can you get a Stargate? No, I'm thinking that she's asking about that little structure that you just showed us, that little, how big is it about
yeah, this is,
football?
we do have these available. You can go to our website, the stargateexperience.com. It's an investment, and I would suggest that before you just go out and buy one, it's not about, we're not trying to just sell a lot of these Stargates. It's for those people that can tune in and feel the benefit of having one. So do some of the meditations, tune in, see if this is really for you. It's not just another device to collect, not at all. It's for those people that are aligned with this. So there's so many different techniques and methods out there, and it's really important that we find the right one for us. The Stargate is not for everyone.
Yeah.
There's techniques that are perfect for each individual. You have to find them.
Yeah. Well, I believe we're all a Stargate in our
That's also true.
in our energy grid. We are all a Stargate, but that outside physical structure gives us a focus, gives us a reminder, gives us a focus, because as humans, we create through our attention, our focus, our, putting energy into something. And we're so distracted most of the time, caught up in worry and in our stressful thinking. And to have that physical structure, whether it's a Stargate or anything else, to remind you of your potential, basically, remind you of your potential, and to focus in a way that allows that Stargate to be activated within your own Merkaba, your own energetic grid structure. Don't you think?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things that Alcazar does sometimes is actually support us in, he talks about the pituitary and pineal gland working together as our Stargate, our connection to the higher realities. And the other thing, I think I mentioned that the Stargate is an anchor for a higher dimensional consciousness, and we call that the etheric Stargate. And the beautiful thing is that you can call for an etheric Stargate. And in fact, one of the things that we often do is to remind people that work with us, you can create an etheric Stargate in your home. And then it's radiating these energies all the time. The difference between a physical Stargate and an etheric Stargate is you are calling in the consciousness into your environment. And so just as if a friend is joining you, comes into your living room, for example, if you ignore them, they'll go away. So with an etheric Stargate, you just need to acknowledge it every day. And we have some interesting stories. There was one woman who wrote to us and said, I put an etheric Stargate in my living room, and my dog grabbed its bed and dragged it across the living room and put it underneath the etheric Stargate.
I love it.
Very sensitive to these energies. I've got a couple of beautiful pictures. One is I put the physical Stargate up in someone's home in Israel, and her dog, it's called Snoopy, ran inside, sat in the center, and looked up, right in the center where the energy comes down. It's a beautiful picture. And I have another really cute picture of a white kitten. And I watched this little kitten walking around and around. It was a Stargate a bit bigger, and she was trying to get in. And in the end, she squeezed her way in. She couldn't totally fit. So there's a picture of her with her paws sticking out, but she's inside it. And
well, that's a testimonial in itself, isn't it? That
absolutely.
The animals know, the animals can feel it. Yeah.
We have dozens of people saying that when they do our daily meditations, their dog or their cat comes and sits with them and meditates with them. Yeah.
Oh, well, my dog and cat, well, my cat rather, It's with me all the time, wants to be me all the time. So I think I've got the Stargate going on. Now, where's that image? I wanted to bring up the image of Uluru. I can't find it. Oh, here it is. I wanted to share that with people where you're going in Australia. So let me ask you, are you doing some sort of support program for other experiences that you're doing around the world, or was it just for Slovenia, for people that want to attend?
Well, actually, we've done a lot this year. We started off by going to Europe and working in several different countries there. Budapest, and then Prague, and then
Wow.
we went to England, and then from England to the Azores, and then back to the States for a couple of workshops. And we're just here for like 5 or 6 weeks, and then we're off to Australia, Slovenia, and then Australia, and then back here for a Thanksgiving workshop, and then a New Year's workshop. So we're very busy. We're doing a lot of different things.
Wow.
We were in Costa Rica after the Azores. Actually, we had a quick stop here.
Yeah, sorry. Go. But for people who want to join one of your events and they feel like they can't afford it, is that support program offered for all of them, or was it just in Eastern Europe?
No, it happens at different times. It's a big investment for us to actually support a lot of people. And so we only do that every now and again. But the way we do support people is that when we do a workshop, most of them, we also live stream. So people can join us on the live stream. And we have different price points, so that those people with less financial abilities can have choose a lower price point. And we also have a higher one for those people who wish to support others. And that happens all the time. And even if people can't afford the lower price, they can write into support and they can have that experience for free. So it's not about making money. It's about reaching as many people as possible and honoring and appreciating those who can support us financially to make it possible to support all those other people who are challenged financially right now.
Yeah, that is just so cool. I just love that, Prageet. I really do. So this image that I've got on the screen now for people on radio is showing where Prageet and Julieanne are going. So you're coming from Eastern Europe and you're landing in Brisbane, Queensland, and you're doing an event on the Gold Coast was it mid-September, I think?
The Sunshine Coast, in
Sunshine
September.
Coast, Gold Coast, same place.
And this is something that we really want to welcome as many Aussies to as possible, because we want to share the experience of this energetic with as many people as possible in the physical. And we've made it a lower price than the other workshops that we're doing, which are much more focused for those people that can support this process right now. And there's a reason behind that, because we're trying to create a financial abundance in order to do the next step of the Stargate work, which I won't go into right now.
No, because we've only got 7 minutes to go. And then you're coming down to the Blue Mountains. You're coming down to Sydney. I suspect you're flying into Sydney and driving up to and you are with Viviane Chauvet, who was on the show a few weeks ago. Yeah. So Viviane's coming out with you. Viviane and I forgot to actually talk about it. We got so into her work with the Arcturians that we didn't even talk about it. And then you're chuffing off to Uluru. So you'll be in Uluru in October. All the dates and everything are on the website. There is a link underneath this show in all the platforms that gives you all that information for the Australian tour, if you want to click that link or go to the website, whatever. But yeah, and so it's very exciting. I'm really chuffed that you're coming down under, because so many people I've spoken to over the years have said how they really want to come to Australia.
Yeah.
so far to go and so expensive and yada 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 and all that sort of stuff. But I love that you're completely supported in this. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so any last thing?
Well, I was just going to say the Blue Mountains is a workshop that we can take more people, and it's going to be building the energy towards this whole Uluru opening. And we've only just have a space for a few people. Okay, you disappeared.
I know we've got a few internet problems. Sorry, I'm freezing. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you again. You've come back. That's great.
Okay. I love this. Love the internet problems. Yes, I'd love to go up and hang out with you guys in the Blue Mountains. It's about an hour and a half away from my place in Sydney. It's not too far. And you're holding it at an absolutely beautiful hotel up there, which is a beautiful old hotel. That's gorgeous. I was up there recently, a couple of months ago. I was up there at that hotel and checking it out. Yeah, it's a beautiful event space that you're holding out. Okay, and where are you holding it at Uluru?
We're doing in the sales. There's several different hotels or residential complexes there. We're holding in the sales, which is one of the hotels there.
Yeah,
and we're going to have a meditation room there, but also, of course, we're going to be doing trips to Uluru and Katajuda and basically connecting to the land. And it's so important to connect and honor the land and the First Nation and their incredible wisdom and stories. Yeah. And so it's going to be very much about receiving and receiving and receiving and then sharing that which we have to offer.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, Desley asked here, we're just about to go. Desley, hello to you both. Do you hold it or sit inside the Stargate? Well, the big Stargate, obviously the little Stargate that you were showing us, you could hold it, but the big one, you can sit inside it and you're taking that with you, but you can also create an etheric Stargate with your intention and focus and sit inside that. You can create it over your body, over your house, over the planet, over the universe, depending on how focused you are and how powerful your attention and focus is. But yeah, portal to other dimensions. Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you to Alcazar and Julieanne for the work that you're doing. I think that when Julieanne says she connected to your guide, that stream of collective consciousness that are the ascended masters, I think many people are tapped in, tuned in to that frequency and bandwidth, but they're giving it other names.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm calling it very reverently the mob. Because the information that's coming through Alcazar and other channels and myself is the same information, just with different verbiage, different way of speaking, the way that we speak things. But it's, or some people call it God, whatever you want to call it. But thank you so much for Prageet. This has been beautiful. What does Judy say? There are fake ones out there. Be sure to order from Stargate. There are fake ones out there, Judy says online. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are fake ones out there. Does it really matter if there are fake ones out there?
Absolutely. It does, because it's about integrity. And it's about the love that goes into the construction. And the consciousness, which is the whole point of the structure, the consciousness anchors into the Stargate. If it's made with no integrity, there'll be no energy. Basically, that consciousness won't activate those structures. They may look the same, but they won't have the energy. It's about integrity.
So my daughter, stay on with me after we finish, Prageet. I wanted to tell you, my daughter takes people whale watching just underneath the Gold Coast. Maybe you and Julieanne want to go and see the whales while you're here, because you're here.
Oh, we love it, yeah.
I think the whales will still be there. They're at the moment. She's sending me all these video clips of the whales waving and talking to them. But thank you again for coming on the show. It's been an absolute joy and a pleasure. And I look forward to meeting you in Down Under. Woohoo!
Yes, indeed. Yes. We look forward to seeing you in the Blue Mountains.
And thanks to everyone that's been tuning in. Big love to all of you. If you want to contact me, go to karenswain.com and send me an email. Tell me what you're thinking of the shows, how you're experiencing the shows. I had a great conversation with someone yesterday telling me how much the shows have changed his life. And I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.